Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope you guys are having a great Friday. Today is Good Friday, so possibly you might be off. If you are off, congratulations. Hope you guys are enjoying the day. And recently, in the last week to 2 weeks, I've been getting a lot of questions regarding Cleanspark. Why is it not performing as well as some of the other miners are? Why is it undervalued? All those types of questions. So I've done a similar video to this, but went through different details a little bit and a different way of doing it. I'm going to do it with a bunch of slides this time around and a bunch of charts. I'm hoping that this kind of answers some of your questions as well. And we'll just get into it. We'll go through it all, and hopefully we'll answer some of those questions, okay? So as always, you guys know the drill here. This is not financial advice for entertainment only. Do your own research. I'm investing in following coins and companies for full disclosure. And let's get into what we're going to take a look at here, which is going to be on, obviously, Cleanspark. So undervalued, how and why compared to its peers. So we are comparing about 6 or 7 companies compared to them based on their production of Bitcoin and everything else, okay? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get into it here. And we're going to start with the why. Why I think Cleanspark right now is way undervalued compared to its peers. So what is holding it back right now? I think number one is investor fears, obviously. There's a couple of things that are possibly on the mind of investors. Shareholder dilution, i.e. the 500 million ATM, is definitely on people's minds. Now, this is the second time that they've had a 500 million ATM. Last time they only used 200 some million of it. They didn't use all of it. They canceled that one and they got a new 500 million ATM because they do want to grow from the 6 exahash that they are now, where are they at right now? 6.7 exahash to approximately 16, I believe it's 16.6 exahash is where they want to go to. So they are going to have to obviously bring in a lot more capital to grow. But I think there's some misconceptions on that one as well, as far as how much they're going to actually dilute. Based on some of the calculations that I've done, it looks like they're going to possibly having to dilute maybe around, well, they're going to need around $200 to $250 million to get to the 16 exahash that they want to get to, right? They are already, well, about a third of the way there, but they do need to purchase a lot more miners, equipment, everything else to get to the 16 exahash by the end of this year. Okay, now, based on this, that we have the 200 million that they're going to need roughly to 250, I'm going with 200 million. And the reason for that is because they are now generating approximately 15 million per month in revenue. If we look at the chart here. So this is their spreadsheet that I use here. We can see here that in March, they generated 15.019 million. I'm guessing if they use maybe half of that for their growth, the rest for paying electricity, overhead, things like that, maybe they can use half of that. So that's kind of what I'm going by here. Looking at that for the quarter, it looks like they made about 42.5 million. This is just my estimate right now based on what they reported for the last 3 months. If they use half of that, it's about 20 million. So 20 million per quarter. We're looking at approximately 80 million that they can possibly use towards their own growth here. That's right. So this is just a big theoretical problem on it. So if we're looking at 200 million, they use 80 million of Bitcoin production here. We're only going to be down to approximately 120 million. That's going to be needed for dilution, I think. Maybe 120 to 170 million possibly to get to the remaining 16 exahash that they want to get to. If they only, like I said, use the 120 million and the stock price stays where it's at. Stock price right now is at $2.44. Let's just say that they're going to be at $2 for just for the giggles of it. So that's going to be approximately 60 million to about 75 million shares of dilution, which possibly could be what they're going to end up doing here. Might be a little bit more, but I'm kind of guessing somewhere around here, share dilution, okay? So it's nowhere near the total 500 million that people are thinking they're going to be using up, which would then equate to approximately, if the stock price is at $2, well, then you're looking at about 250 million shares, right? Million shares compared to the only 60 to 75 million shares possibly that they're going to be diluting. Now, this is just a hypothetical part of it, but this is kind of the way I'm looking at it as far as how they're going to possibly grow. Now, even if they dilute 200 million shares, that's still not too bad. That's in line with some of the other companies like Marathon, Riot. Hut 8 is higher than that. Cypher is higher than that, I believe, as well. We'll kind of get into all those numbers as well when we do look at it here, okay? So that's that part of it. Next is going to be obviously the share-based compensation. So share-based compensation is a sticking point here with a lot of the investors because, well, it's looking like they're diluting, well, giving themselves more than some of the other companies, But it is kind of in line with everything else that we're seeing here in the blockchain space with miners, Riot, Marathon, everything else. They are doing a lot of share-based compensation, and it is tied to growth, typically. Performance metrics, growth, exahash growth, and I believe also stock price, right? So in order for them to get those share-based compensations, they do have to perform as far as growth and get the stock price up. So I'm okay with that for the most part. It's better that way, I think, than just giving out share-based compensation for no reason at all. Third is going to be obviously going to be the lawsuit here that they have. The lawsuit was filed last year, and this was based on the CEO comments that they're supposed to grow a lot faster or get their facility up and running much faster than they did. And it's also based on somebody that was on the inside there. If that's the case, I think all of these CEOs from Marathon, Riot, everybody else could get a lawsuit, be sued for this because they haven't grown as well as they said they're going to grow, right? So I think that is a frivolous lawsuit there. We'll see what comes out of it, but that's just kind of my thinking on it right now. Last is possibly insider buying, right? We're not really seeing that much of insider buying here from them. If we look at, let me pull this up here really quick, see if I can find it for you guys. I should have had this ready. So your corporate actions, insider activity. Okay, so here we go. Here is the screen that has insider activity for Cleanspark right now. Right now we can see that Matthew Schultz did something at least on the 10th of March, along with Zachary Bradford. I'm guessing that's going to be possibly their share-based compensation for that. But we're also seeing that Gary Anthony here sold 14,000 shares, it looks like, on 3/8, which he bought back in December. So he made a little bit of a profit there, about 50 cents or so, 60 cents profit per share when he did buy back then. Okay, so we do have that happening right now, which doesn't bode well for confidence in the company. So one of the things I would love to see is obviously them potentially having either Matthew or Zach buy shares of the company. Say, we're putting our money where our mouths are, and we're gonna support the stock price going forward. Buy 10,000 shares, whatever it is. It's not that much, but it would send a signal, I think, to investors as well that they are very confident in the growth of the company. Okay, so that kind of, I think, covers some of the investors' fears as far as what's going on with the stock. The other thing that I think is also keeping the stock price down is Mawson has been selling Cleanspark shares. Don't know exactly how much they've sold. I think it's over 1 million shares that they've sold that they got when Cleanspark purchased one of their facilities in Georgia. And part of that transaction was that Cleanspark gave them their shares. So those have been selling. I think they reported that they sold 90% of those shares, so over 1 million shares potentially have been sold in the last possibly 3-4 months or something like that, which I think also has kept the stock price down, right? Each time the price would go up a little bit, they would start selling. Price would go up, they would start selling, and just kind of one of those things that has a negative effect on the stock price for now. Now, given with that information, I think eventually when they do stop selling the 10% that they have left, I think potentially then maybe the stock price will finally start to turn around a little bit. And also if investors are more confident in less share dilution, and insider buying as well, if that happens, I think that's going to be a big benefit for us going forward. Okay, so those are the kind of things that I'm kind of looking at as far as what's possibly holding the stock back. Let's take a look at as far as how their performance is and how they are being rewarded for their performance or actually not being rewarded for their performance here. Okay, so this is the stock price performance here. This is basically looking at where did each stock bottom out here within the last 52 weeks. Most of these have bottomed out right around end of December, early January, and they've bounced since then, right? Excuse me. So Core is actually the biggest gainer here. Core went down to like 8 cents at the bottom. Recently, within the last couple of months, it has bounced back up since then. So it is up to, right now, 641%. Cypher has also done tremendously well here at 509%. It's been one of the best performing ones here. Followed by DigiHost, 435%. DigiHost is a surprise a little bit, but they did provide us with a positive EPS for Q4 and I think it was full year, fiscal year 2022 that they provided a positive EPS. So that might be a potential reason why that one's doing well. Argo's up 363%. It is up mainly because while they were almost in financial trouble, they got out of it by selling a facility in Texas to, who was it? can't think of the name right now, but it was, well, they sold their facility there. That helped them out tremendously. And after that, the stock price definitely jumped on that news. Okay, Riot has done really well here, 207% as well. Iris is up 200%. Bit Digital is up 190%. Marathon up 180%. Mawson up 171%. Bitfarms is up 158%. Hive is up 141%. DMG 139. Hut 8 is up 137%. Bitcoin is only up 82%. So a lot of these companies here, possibly the ones that were up over 160%, which would be basically all of these guys here, have done 2x at least of what Bitcoin has done, which is normally what we would see with the miners. They usually do 2 to 3x better than Bitcoin does. They're kind of like a leverage play on them. Okay. And then we got Hive being up 141, DMG, while we recovered those, Bitcoin. And then we got TeraWolf up 74% only. And then we got also Cleanspark being towards the end here of being 59.8% up, right? One of the lowest performers in the pack here, even though they've been producing Bitcoin regularly at a much better rate than others and a much higher rate. And they've grown really well last year as well. And then you got Sphere 3D here at 51% at the last one, okay? So this is kind of their stock performance here over the last couple months here, how they've all performed. And you can definitely see that Cleanspark has done, you could say, one of the worst performers here on that one. Okay, next is a market cap to hash rate. So the top chart here, which is this one here, all of these in the yellow, that's their market cap right now. And then we're looking at their hash rate for each of the companies as well to kind of get a picture as far as how is hash rate being compared to market cap right now. Okay, market cap for Riot right now is 1.5 billion. They do have 10 exahash, 10.5 exahash of mining, so I would expect them to be up pretty high up there. Marathon also 1.3 billion right now in market cap and 11.5 exahash in current hash rate. They are going to be growing relatively quickly here in the next couple of months. They should be close to 23 exahash, they said, I think by the end of sometime in the second half of the year. Cypher has also grown really well here, and you can see that they are at 579 million, so they're the third largest right now, but they only have a hash rate capacity right now of 4.7 exahash right now. Okay, and then you got Hut 8 is at 368 million, hash rate of 2.5, almost 2.6 exahash. You got Hive pretty close to that as well at 263 million with a hash rate of 2.5, almost 2.6 as well. Then you got Bitfarms here, which is also down to 202 million in market cap and 4.8 exahash in hash rate, right? Based on this number, I would expect Bitfarms to be higher than not only Hut 8, but Hive as well, and possibly being much closer to Cypher in value based on the exahash here. Now, when we look at Cleanspark here, we can see Cleanspark is at 190 million. Their exahash right now is 6.7 exahash. They should be, based on their exahash and what they're producing each month, they should be even ahead of Cypher at this point in time. Okay. Then you got TeraWolf. TeraWolf is at 3.3 exahash, but their hash rate or their market cap is at 186 million. Pretty close to Cleanspark as it is, but you can see here that Cleanspark has 2 times the hash rate, so they're generating twice as much Bitcoin in revenue, and their stock price or their market cap is still pretty low, right? They should be much, much higher in this range over here. Then you got Iris here. Iris is at 164 million market cap with 2 exahash roughly. Same thing here, only 30 million away from Cleanspark, and that's 3x here, almost, well, you could say 3.25x higher in hash rate for Cleanspark where they are, so they should be much higher here as well based on this information. Okay, then just go through the rest of them. Bit Digital is at 125 million, 1.2 exahash. Then you got Core. Core, we know, has had bankruptcy issues, so they're in bankruptcy court right now. They are obviously priced where they are right now because of the fear at 122 million and 16.1 exahash. If they weren't in bankruptcy, they should be the top dog all the way up here. Then you got Argo here at 92 million with 2.5 exahash. DigiHost at 43 million with 753 petahash. Mawson right now at 38 million with 533 petahash. DMG with 37 million and 917 petahash. So they should be actually higher than some of these guys here. And then you got Sphere with 26 million and 433 petahash for that one. Okay, so the negative numbers down here, if you guys see these negative numbers anywhere, it's the only way I could do it so the chart would be inverse of each other and make it kind of easy to see. Okay, so based on this information alone, again, another metric that we're seeing here is Cleanspark is way undervalued based on their own hash rate that they have right now currently compared to some of the other miners that have lower hash rate, but higher market cap on that one. Okay, so that's that one. Now, mining performance. So we're looking at current hash rate here, and then we're taking that and doing petahash per market cap. So we're using the whole market cap, current hash rate, or current petahash, and comparing them to see how the petahash is being priced in the market. Okay, so Marathon has 11.5 exahash. They're getting priced approximately 116,000 per petahash, or if you want to look at it another way, it would be 116 million per exahash, roughly. Okay. Then you got Riot is at 10.5 exahash. They're being priced at 145,000 per petahash or 145 million per exahash. Cleanspark, you got at 6.7 exahash. They're being priced at $28,403 only for each petahash, or 28 million in exahash, if you want to look at it that way. Excuse me. So definitely way undervalued here compared to its peers. And then you got Bitfarms as well, is at 4.8 exahash. They're valued at 42,000 per petahash or 42 million per exahash. And then you got Cypher at 4.7, almost the same amount as Bitfarms. And they are getting priced at 121,000 per petahash or 121 million per exahash, right? Big disparity here between these two guys here from where other miners are as well. Okay, then you got Hive. Hive is at 2.5. They're getting priced at 102 million per exahash. And you got Hut 8 at 2.6 exahash being priced at 142 million per exahash, right? Huge difference there between these guys. And then the average line here, which is important here, which is going to be used later on, is right around, you could say 100 million per exahash is kind of where the average is based on these guys, right? On all of them. So with that being said, all things being equal, Cleanspark should be much closer to this line, if not higher, based on their current exahash that they do have on it, okay? So that's why this tells me that they are way undervalued. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Next is BTC per market cap. So we're looking at the quarterly BTC production for all of these miners and then dividing it by their market cap to get to where we are. And this is basically what each Bitcoin that they generate is being valued at by the market, you could say. Okay, quarterly production for Marathon has done the best here at 2,195 Bitcoins. Their Bitcoin generation is being valued at $608,000 per Bitcoin right now based on their market cap. Riot is at 2,110 Bitcoins. They're being valued at 724,000 per Bitcoin right now. Cleanspark, third spot here, third as far as production is concerned. They are at 1,171 for the quarter. This is last quarter, so this is January, February, and March. They're being valued at 101,000, the lowest here out of the bunch as well, okay? Next is Bitfarms, 1,297, fourth spot. They're being valued at 155, so they are being valued a little bit better than Cleanspark is, but not as well as some of the other ones as well. So Cypher generated 1,154 Bitcoins. They're valued each Bitcoin at 501,000 based on market cap. Hive generated about 760, and Hive is an estimate. They haven't provided their numbers yet for March. I'm using 250 roughly an estimated amount for them in order to make things kind of equal there. So you guys are aware, and they're being valued at 347,000 per Bitcoin. And then you got Hut 8, which is the lowest one on the bunch, at 475 Bitcoin this past quarter. They've done a terrible job as far as growing and having issues with their facilities and lawsuits, and yet still they're being valued the most here based on $775,000 per Bitcoin. Now, you could say the inverse of this. Yes, they do hodl a lot, about 9,000 Bitcoin, I believe, right now, based on the numbers that we do have. But Marathon hodls a heck of a lot more. They have over 11,000. And I believe Riot right now is at, let's see if we can look at Riot really quick. Where's Riot at? Riot right now has a lot as well. Riot has 7,000, so a little bit less than Hut 8 and Marathon, but definitely getting valued a lot better here. And then you also have companies like Cypher, which doesn't hodl a lot as well. They only have a couple hundred Bitcoin, I believe, if that. And they're getting way, way, way more value for those compared to Cleanspark. So another metric that shows me, at least, that Cleanspark is way undervalued to its peers. Okay. Next one is going to be shares outstanding, and then the quarterly BTC produced per 1 million shares. I like to look at that just to see how efficient the shares are basically. And the reason I look at this is if all things are equal between the miners, so if you got company A and you got company B, and they have the same amount of shares outstanding between the two of them, equal amounts, right? If company A produces 4 BTC compared to company B that produces 2 BTC, I would expect company A to have a better market cap than company B, right? That's kind of the way I look at things on this one, as far as their production is concerned, especially as company A is growing much faster than company B. You would want to see a better return on that one. Okay, so shares outstanding is current numbers that I have for them. They might be off by a little bit, but not by much, I would hope. But these are the most recent numbers that we do have on them. So Marathon is about 167 million shares, and they're generating approximately 13 Bitcoins per million shares right now. And then you got also Riot is at 166 million shares. They're generating about 13 as well on that one. And then you got Cleanspark with 77.9, almost 80 million, 78 million shares. And they're generating the most here, 24 Bitcoins per 1 million shares, right? So a lot better return on investment, I would think, is the way to look at it. Then you got Bitfarms. Bitfarms has a lot of shares, 219 million shares. They're generating about 6 Bitcoins per million shares. Cypher, 248 million shares out. They're generating 5 Bitcoins per share, 5 Bitcoins per million shares. Hive is at 81 million shares. They also did a reverse split last year. That helped them out a little bit here, but they're generating about 6 Bitcoins per million shares. And then you got Hut 8 with 219 million shares outstanding, and they're generating only 2. Yet still, they're getting a lot more value based on their production here than obviously Cleanspark is. So another reason why I think Cleanspark is way undervalued here, in my opinion, okay? Next is 2022 performance. So we're kind of looking at how did the companies grow last year compared to the other ones. And this year we'll take a look at it also later on, possibly down the road, maybe half a year in. We'll take a look how each company has done so far. But right now, based on last year's performance, we can see here that Marathon grew by about 3.5 exahash that year. That was a 102% increase for them, which was really good. Riot grew 6.2 exahash. That was an awesome year for them as far as growth is concerned. They're growing really well this year again, but that was 180% growth for them. Cleanspark grew by 4.1% or 4.1 exahash. That was the second best here out of these guys, and they grew 201% in that year. So they started the year out at about 2 exahash, and they finished out the year at 6 exahash, right? Huge growth for them. And then we got Bitfarms grew 2.1 exahash, 93%. Hive only grew 183 petahash. That was a 10% growth for them. And then Hut 8 grew 1.1 exahash. That was a 53% growth for them. And you can see again, based on the growth from last year and everything else, their Cleanspark is definitely getting way undervalued by investors for the reasons that I listed above, I believe. Okay, so that's another metric that I like to use to see how they are doing. And then we got share dilution. So I took the numbers of shares that they diluted for the year in 2022, and what did we get for it? So with Marathon, they diluted 42.8 million shares. We got approximately, well, this is dilution per petahash. So we diluted 12,136,000 shares per 1 petahash, or you could look at it this way as 12.1 million shares per each exahash, okay? Riot diluted 51 million shares. We got that at 8.1 million shares per exahash. Cleanspark diluted only 30 million shares last year, 7.3 exahash or 7.3 million shares per exahash. Bitfarms 29 here, 29.3 million shares, and they diluted basically 13.5 million shares per exahash on that one. Then you got Hive here at 14.4 million, but they diluted, looks like the most here at 74.8 million shares per exahash. They didn't grow much that year. And let's see here. Hut 8 came in at 50.9 million shares diluted, and they diluted basically 44.9 million shares per exahash. So definitely a lot there of dilution between these two companies just to keep them going. And again, you can see here that Cleanspark came in as the clear winner here when it came to dilution and their growth for the year compared to the other miners, right? Another reason why Cleanspark is, I believe, way undervalued currently. Okay, next, where should they be if all things were equal? So this is kind of where I'm looking at if everything was priced out equally, and this is going back to that chart here where we were over here with this line is basically where everything is equal based on petahash per market cap. We're using that number there, and this is kind of where I think they should be right now, if all things were equal, right? Current price for these companies and then where they should be. So Marathon right now is at $7.98 right here. They should be at about $9.38, so they would actually be going up here. Riot, on the other hand, right now is at $9.16. They should be closer to $8.47 if all things were equal. Cleanspark is at $2.44. They should be at $14.45 right now, being all things equal. We know that they're not, but this is kind of where they should be. Bitfarm, same thing. They're at 92 cents right now. They should be at $3.61. Cypher as well, $2.33 right now. They should be around $3.03. Given that information that we do have, and then Hive would actually be going down from $3.23 to $2.76, and Hut 8 from $1.68 to $1.42 because they just don't have the production for Bitcoins and everything else. But yes, they have a HODL position, which I think is helping him out tremendously here. Okay, that's based on current share price and then current market cap and then all equal market cap based on the information that we provided here. So Marathon right now is at 1.3 billion. They should be about 1.56 billion based on their current production of Bitcoin. Riot is at 1.5 billion right now. They should be about 1.4, a little bit of a decrease there based on that information. Cleanspark is at 190 million right now. They should be at 1.1 billion based on that information, right? All things being equal. Then you got Bitfarms at 202 million. They should be at 795 million. And then Cypher, 579 million to 754 million, and Hive at 264 going down to 226, Hut 8 at 369 going down to 311. And this is all based on actual production, right? How much are they producing each month, each quarter? Are they growing? Are they not growing? This is based on those kind of numbers and where things should really be at. So with all of this, I think this is the last one of them, if I'm not mistaken, that I have here. Yep, that's the last one. With all of that information that we do have here, yes, Cleanspark is definitely way undervalued. And the reason for that is definitely, I think, more or less with what's holding its back, which is the investor fears, shareholder dilution, share-based compensation, lawsuit, and then the insiders not buying as well. I think if those things are explained, and they have been doing a pretty good job explaining it as well. Zach's been out there along with Matt has been out there explaining how the shareholder dilution works along with share-based compensation. And we just need to have people kind of realize that they're not going to be diluting $500 million worth of shares to get to where they need to go, depending as long as, for two things. One, as long as they can buy between $20 and $15 per terahash, I think they can get to where they need to be within 200 to 250 million in revenue, or not revenue, but in equity that they're going to need to grow to 16 some exahash, okay? So I hope this explains it as clearly as I can, well, for everybody here. And it kind of answers all your guys' questions as well, okay? So I'm not going to talk about Cleanspark being way undervalued again, unless things really change when they go down to $1 or something like that, where things are just insane. But I'm hoping that this will kind of, like I said, answer all the questions, and we don't have to talk about it anymore, all right? Let me know if you guys have any questions or if you think there's other things we could have taken a look at as well. I always love your guys' feedback, and as always, this is going to be sent to my Patreon members. They're going to have access to it along with the spreadsheet that I use to do all these kind of calculations for as well. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great weekend. And as you guys know, we got Saturday and Sunday coming up here, so we'll see what's going on. Markets were closed today, and we'll see how things progress over the weekend for Bitcoin. Bitcoin right now is actually kind of flat, so we'll see how it goes over the weekend. All right, that's it. Thanks so much. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.